As we prepare for Summer League at the end of the week, we'll take a look back at this Hornets offseason and decide what the best move was and what the worst move was right here, Locked On Hornets.
You are Locked On Hornets, your daily Charlotte Hornets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
It's Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free and we're available anywhere you get your podcasts, and that includes YouTube. I'm Walker Mail. You can listen to me on WFNZ every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m. And there's Doug Branson of everyhornetsboxscore.com and also Locked On NBA. He hosts that podcast with Matt Moore. And Hayes, let's play the game. We go over to Doug and we figure out, what's that face? Doug, explain your face to the people.
That face is that I was looking at my program monitor here, and I noticed I was a little short. I was like a good foot short. In real life, you've got probably a foot on me, but on television, I like to even the odds a little bit and put our heads at the same height. And I was sitting on my foot. My chair was weird. Anyway, I'm the correct height. I'm the incorrect height, which is the correct height for television, which is matching you.
It reminds me of all the family photos where me and my tall brothers all sneakily try to get on our tiptoes to see who the tallest is. And so all of our family photos throughout the years, somebody is taller than one brother in this photo, and it goes on and on and on. By the way, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. We appreciate them as always. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. All right, best move, worst move. Let's get to both of these things here, Doug. And I think we should start with the best. Well, should we go bad news first? Are you a bad news first type of guy?
No? I will say that in years past, picking the worst move would have been the more interesting topic. It would have been we would have had more choices in years past, probably more to talk about.
Yeah.
And people would have been in that mode. I would say this season is different in a fabulous way in that there were a lot of great moves to pick from. I think this is actually the best move, more interesting, and people are more geared to talk about it. So I think we start with best.
Okay, let's do it. By the way, it's been like that over the last couple of off seasons, I would say, under Jeff Peterson, where anytime that we're asked to evaluate his tenure so far, we can't go back to a bunch of moves they've made and say, oh, I really disagree with that. That one really hurts. We've not been able to do that. Even if the Hornets don't get better, maybe you disagree with the philosophy, and that's real. That's something that we can go with. But in specific moves, trading Terry Rozier, trading P.J. Washington, even me, the P.J. Washington fan, it's hard to disagree with, well, when you get a top 2 protected first for P.J., you make that one. And Terry Rozier, especially now. So anyways, it's been easier, which is nice. It's been easier. Yeah, the face for Terry. Yikes. Best moves. I have an order here. Do you want me to stick with the question and just give you one? Or can I go with a 3 order? First, second, and third best moves of the offseason.
I would like your best move, and then we'll see if I agree with it. And if I do agree with it, I will say so. But then I will give you an argument for why one of the other moves, because I think we're going to agree, but I don't. That's boring. So I'll give you an argument that one of them could be sneakily the best move.
Well, okay. Now I might be breaking the rules already. I might be cheating. I'm going to go with the draft as a whole. If I can include the draft as just one move, if that's okay, that's what I'm going to roll with. It feels like the best move.
It's cheating.
It is cheating. Feels like the best draft that they've had in quite some time. They draft Kon Knueppel, where that was divisive. Not a lot of people, it wasn't 100% approval rating. Liam McNeely, first round, had some question marks. But especially with what you did early in the second round, Sion James and Ryan Kalkbrenner, I loved getting both of those guys early in the second. So I just think in terms of short-term and long-term impact, I think you have 4 guys right now that are under contract, Doug. I've talked about this. Perhaps I can sneak this one in. It's kind of a best move. Getting Sion James on a real contract rather than having to push him to a 2-way contract, I love that little sub move within the larger grand scheme of things with what they did in the NBA draft. So I think it's draft as a whole getting everybody under a legitimate contract. Early second round guys, they're older. They feel like they can help right away. Ryan Kalkbrenner might start. That's on the table for a second round pick as old as he is with not a whole lot of center depth. He just might start. And Sion James could be your replacement for Josh Okogie and fits a different profile than what these other guys do. All these other scoring guards you got. Love what they did in the draft. I think they've set themselves up well.
So I obviously love what they did in the draft as well. But unfortunately, you cheated and you were wrong. You weren't wrong because you cheated.
Damn,
you cheated and you're wrong. We have a bit of a Mighty Ducks situation where they leave the ice and they go, we cheated and we still couldn't win. That's what we've got here, because the correct answer is obviously the Collin Sexton trade. And I was afraid you were going to say that before I could, and then I was going to have to make a silly argument that the Pat Connaughton trade was somehow better than the Collin Sexton trade.
The bullet I took on was much better than the bullet you were about. You were about to take on a bazooka. All I did was get shot. It's a mere flesh wound. Oh, buddy. Okay, I'm glad I did it. Well, explain yourself with Collin.
Well, so the Collin Sexton trade, just the on-the-court argument is good enough, which is that you get immediate scoring punch off the bench and a particular kind of scoring punch, and that, yes, he can shoot threes, but I think his biggest talent is getting downhill, something that LaMelo Ball tried to do and struggled with last season, something we haven't seen from Brandon Miller. It takes a little bit of the pressure off of him to do that. He can more settle into what I think he's going to be best at, which is in the regular season, generating great three-point looks, and in the postseason, generating those much-needed mid-range shots that we saw dominate the later rounds of the postseason. That's what I want Brandon. I don't want Brandon Miller putting his body on the line trying to get to the rim. I don't want that at all. So, or at least not possession after possession. He has to develop some of that skill to make defenses honest, but Collin Sexton allows him to develop that without a sense of immediate urgency. And then you're also, whether he starts and that's a future conversation. Does he start? Does Josh Green start? But if he doesn't start, he comes off the bench and helps an anemic bench last season. That's awesome. You trade him not only just for use of Nurkic, but then you get picks in the deal as well. That was the most shocking thing about the trade, is that they somehow came away with additional draft assets despite getting the obviously better player. I've always seen Collin Sexton as the guy that takes the gym run way too seriously at the Y. Like they call him Young Bull for a reason. He's super serious, but he's been on bad teams. And now he gets a chance to be on this team and bring some of that competitiveness to this team. I just think, and to me, that was the on-the-court stuff. Off the court, like, that move to me signaled, hey, the Hornets are getting serious about winning. They're putting depth at a position they've desperately needed depth at. And if LaMelo does go down for some portion of the season, look, if LaMelo's out for half the season, more than that, the Hornets' chances of doing anything in the postseason, doomed. But we can now stand for LaMelo to be out for a stretch and survive that because you've got Collin Sexton. So that was obviously the move of the offseason.
It really was. It was the obvious one. If I wasn't allowed to get away with the draft as a whole, then I was going to go to Collin Sexton, because you're right. It is clearly the one that you don't have any question marks about, which is why, Doug, you mentioned it's so clearly about this team being so serious, winning now, that they're going after a win now mantra, where I agree with you to some extent. I still think that it's hard to take that away outright because it's such an easy move to make, right? Because if you're going to give me Collin Sexton and a second-round pick for Nurkic, a guy we only brought on because we got rid of Mark Williams and they were going to attach a first-round pick, and then we were stuck with Mark, and if hindsight was a thing and we were able to retroactively go back and undo a move, we probably wouldn't have Nurkic on our team if they still had Mark Williams. I don't know that to be true, but I know that's a real possibility. So that's all you're taking, and we get Collin Sexton and a second-round pick. I don't know what it says other than it's such an easy move to make. We have to do this. So you're right. In terms of just a one-off move, one transaction sliding across Adam Silver's desk, it's that one. It's, oh boy, Collin, that's it? All right, send it in. You're 100% right. It really is the right answer.
By the way, the draft, great, because not only did you stack your team with cost-controlled contracts that both balance players with upside with players that have played multiple years of college and can contribute right away at their respective positions, but you also, I think, brought in 4 very serious players, and that is the word, I think, of the offseason so far has been seriousness, bringing a level of seriousness to this locker room and to improve and to continue to improve the culture. But here's the thing. Rookies don't create culture. Rookies tend to absorb whatever culture is there or is starting to develop. A guy like Collin Sexton, who's been around a while and has been on a couple teams, he can help come in and create a culture. Pat Connaughton can help do that. Miles Bridges, Brandon Miller, they'll continue to do that. So that it's great that they found rookies that are going to be more tilted towards that. But I think those moves, if they had just done the rookies and not done the Sexton deal, the Dinwiddie deal, the Connaughton deal, then I would have still been like, I don't know. It's I don't know if they're really serious about this whole winning thing, but that turned everything around.
Last thing on Sexton, if they turn Nurkic into Collin Sexton and a pick, and then Sexton, for whatever reason, needs to be moved at the trade deadline, because you can't do it for a while, if I'm not mistaken. I think you have 6 months until you can trade him, but then you can. And then you flip him for another asset for a team desperate to get off of money themselves, a team desperate to have another scoring punch off of the bench. Maybe Collin comes in, averages 20 off of the pine, and plays really well. And they're like, okay, we're desperate to go compete in a wide open league. Here's a protected first for Collin or whatever, right? Like I'm, he's on an expiring contract. You can extend him, whatever. You just have so much flexibility having him on your roster. It's a beautiful thing.
And then at that point, you have Yusuf Nurkic turns into 2 first-round picks and a second-round pick. Like that's
right.
That's insane.
No, it's crazy. It's phenomenal asset management if that scenario plays out. Last one before we move on to the worst move. The whole process with Tre Mann I thought was brilliantly played. They take care of a guy. So you take care of the people part of this. Tre Mann having chemistry with the guys on the roster. Miles Bridges, those guys putting videos of Tre working out at Queens, showing some athleticism. You didn't overpay to keep Tre. Just because you were going after guards, it doesn't mean that you thought of Tre as disposable. You still went after him, and it's on a well developed deal here. You're talking about, what is it, $7 million, something like that? $8 million. I'm sorry, $8 million, and the third year is a team option. So you get to figure out what you want to do with Tre on that third year. The process with Tre Mann, it wasn't so unfair by any stretch to where Tre has any sour grapes needing to come back to Charlotte, and you get him on what is a phenomenal contract. So if I were to rate it, it'd go whole draft, Collin Sexton, and I just thought the Tre Mann process, I thought that was brilliantly played by this front office who continues to stack up smart decisions, in my opinion. Let's move on. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Bees everywhere!
Worst move. Now it's time for the bad news. Yeah, we gave you the good stuff. We gave you the candy first. Now it's time for your medicine. That's still to come. LOH. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights or golf on the green, high-stakes soccer action possibly, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. If you're already following the action, why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. You could use FanDuel to track your favorite matchups. The app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. Also, it's easy to use. It's a fast payout, and they make regular season games feel like must-watch events. Whether you're placing a same-game parlay or watching a bet ride into the ninth inning, FanDuel makes it feel like you're a part of the action. If you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. More Locked On Hornets ahead. I tried to be different and complicated with the best move the Hornets made this offseason. This one is going to be the same answer. I'd be pretty surprised if it wasn't. The worst move is Mason Plumlee, in my opinion. Let's just jump right on into it. Signing Mason Plumlee, it's the worst move. Now, the people that are defending the move will tell you that it's only $3 million. It's only 1 year. You're right. The ramifications of signing Mason Plumlee are not so dire that this is going to be a deal that affects you 3-4 years down the line. You're right. That's not going to happen. this deal is so cheap that it's not going to affect the type of money that you spend. Maybe a tiny bit, because of $3 million is $3 million. It all adds up. But you didn't pay double that, which is what the going rate is for the better centers out there, like a Day'Ron Sharpe, like Kon Knueppel, who's making $7 million a pop. So, it's not going to be so devastating that they can't get out from under it. Part of this is that the Hornets have made a lot of really smart decisions. This one, cutting down on roster space, with Mason possibly starting, with going back to the well, which, leaves yourself susceptible to jokes. Lord knows I made a couple on Twitter. That's what happens when you go back to Mason Plumlee after, 3 years of not having Mason. And then the times we remember Mason playing decent basketball, it wasn't a starter caliber worthy center in the league. So all of that to say, Mason Plumlee is my option for the worst move that they've made so far.
So I think that's a good one. I think when I think about the Mason Plumlee deal, I just think about going backwards, and I don't think it significantly improves their defense in a way. I mean, yeah, certainly a better passing big, and you lose that with Nurkic, so you're replacing that a little bit. But is it a Taj Gibson move where he's going to just sort of be there if necessary, or is this something that they're looking at as a potential starter at the beginning of the season until Kalkbrenner comes along? That's a big question mark in my mind. But actually, I don't think it's my worst move of the offseason. It's close, but I don't think it is.
Surprise.
For me, it's using the 29th pick on Liam McNeely instead of Max Reynaud, because I thought they had or Noah Penda. I'll throw that in there. If they didn't want to go double center, they could have acquired Noah Penda with that move, which would have, I think, been a pick that would have signaled better defense, particularly in the interior, and maybe Penda's a little bit more of a project. So I wouldn't have advised them doing that instead of Kalkbrenner. But I really like Max Reynaud. He fell all the way into the 40s. I think he's going to be a really good player. Another stretch big out of Stanford. Both you and I really liked him. And I thought the Hornets could have made up for the mistake that they made when they took Mark Williams, instead of just taking Mark Williams and Jalen Duren and letting those two rookies fight it out and figure out which one was the best one. They decided to trade one of those picks, which became Nick Smith Jr. They could have done it again. They could have taken two centers and let those two guys figure out who belongs in the rotation, and then move the other one. The problem becomes the guaranteed money that the 29th pick has. So I'll just sort of extend this into not taking Max Reynaud, because they could have taken him instead of Sion James as well. Liam McNeely to me seems like a worse version of the guy that you took with the 4th overall selection, who you should be confident in. Like, you don't need a backup to Kon Knueppel, particularly when you went out and got all of these other wings and guards anyway. I think Liam McNeely, that's a signal that he's probably at least a year away from making an impact on this rotation, and you're paying him guaranteed money because he's a 29th pick. So all in all, I just kind of take all that and I put it in a basket. Maybe I cheated here too by, adding 3 things all at once. But I just think how they handled getting that extra first round pick and taking Liam McNeely. Hopefully he proves me wrong, but that's going to be my worst move so far.
Okay. The other part of the center stuff, it's kind of revolving the center position for both of us. You wanted to take an offensively driven center. I didn't want to sign Mason Plumlee as our center because of roster spots are a real issue for me. Like, again, I'm not. We have to talk about everything relatively speaking. It doesn't mean that this Hornets team isn't going to take a step forward, but yeah, you got a lot of decisions to make. Nick Smith Jr. probably gone. Daquan Jeffries. You got to figure out what you're doing with Josh Okogie. Oh, okay, and you still need to cut down the roster even after that. So the fact that you're using Mason Plumlee's contract as one of the guys to eat up one of those spots as a Taj Gibson role, I value vet leadership. I value having Taj Gibson. So maybe I'm speaking out of both sides of my mouth. I just would rather have a little bit more of a sure rotation at center. Part of this is how much you believe in Moussa Diabate and Ryan Kalkbrenner right away, because Ryan Kalkbrenner comes in almost as old as Moussa, if I'm not mistaken. I think, because Moussa's 23 years and 23 and a half years old. I think that's about the same for Kalkbrenner. So I like Moussa. I think he's a winning player. The on-off numbers suggest that he is. I know it's because they weren't great last year too, but I just think he's a winning player. So like if I'm having to divvy up or take away Musa or Kalkbrenner minutes and then I have to give them to Mason, that's the frustrating part. If Mason is going to come in and play a Taj Gibson role, well, then I want him to play the Taj Gibson role all the way, and that Gibson ain't out there. You know what I'm saying? Like that's if he's going to play the Gibson role, then that means sitting on the bench and getting a lot of DNP CDs and being a pseudo coach. It's not here's 18 minutes of contest, because that's not what Taj was getting on a nightly basis. That just going back into the center rotation.
All right, I did my own research, and Ryan Kalkbrenner is actually 5 days older than Moussa Diabate, just
Crazy.
by 5. Jan 17 for Kalkbrenner, Jan 21 for Moussa Diabate, both of them born after 9/11. We're getting old. Also, Ryan Kalkbrenner is, sorry, why did I bring that up?
I don't
also,
know. That was a dark place to
that,
go.
but you know why? I'll tell you why I did it.
It's a landmark. Like,
it's the marker that I use to determine, like, oh man, that person is very young, 23 years young. I'm very old. So I just recently celebrated a birthday. So Ryan Kalkbrenner is also married to a Creighton women's basketball alum. So if Kalkbrenner becomes a Charlotte Hornets superstar, and maybe they already have children, I don't know. But if they are blessed to have children, then maybe we could have a Curry situation but this time rectify it and have Kalkbrenner's spawn play for the Charlotte Hornets. That'd be cool.
So we just got to make sure he's as good as where the Hornets are picking that year. That he can't be too great if the Hornets don't have the first overall pick. He can't be too bad if the Hornets do have the first overall pick. We just got to make sure he's as good.
And he has to go to Duke.
Does have to go to Duke in order to play for us, just like Seth Curry did. That will fulfill the prophecy. All right, coming up next on the almost. Sorry, Doug.
Sorry, one more thing, and I do, because I do want to move on to Summer League after this, so I don't want to leave anything on the table here. So you mentioned win now in the first segment, and I said serious about winning. And I think, to me, the Collin Sexton move and some of the rookie additions signal to me serious about winning, but not necessarily win now. There's a distinction for me there. The Mason Plumlee move, to bring this back to our Plumlee discussion here, that to me takes us out of the realm of win now. If you're serious about win now, you go and make a move for Jared Allen. Maybe they still have time, but that's what you do. Or you go and get a Nick Claxton, who's owed $20 million over the next couple of seasons. That's win now. To me, they're just getting serious about winning, preparing themselves for next offseason when it could enter into that win now territory. So that's
good distinction. Yeah, that's fair. All right, coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Bees everywhere!
Okay, we went over Summer League, the entire roster yesterday, but now we get to the specifics. Who is the player we're most excited to watch in the Summer League session? And is there a little bit of Summer League envy, having watched some of the other rookies perform in a couple of games so far? One more segment to go. Coming up next, Locked On Hornets. The most excited you are to watch one player. There's a lot to choose from on this roster. I think the default answer last year is just immediately Tijan Salon. Maybe you could get some Nick Smith Jr. excitement. I think that would have been a legitimate answer as well last season. But Doug, you really could pick, I don't know, all of the starters almost. Really 4 guys here. Who's the guy you're going to land on?
Tijan Salon is the player that I'm most intrigued about, but I would say most excited. I think you have to go with the top 4 pick. I mean, it's a top 5 level pick. That's the guy you have to be most excited to see what he has. And at a position where the Hornets were dancing around that a little bit, it seemed like they wanted to move back to get Kon Knueppel and didn't feel confident that they could get Kon Knueppel beyond 5. And so they pass up on Ace Bailey. They say, no, we want this kid. We believe in this kid, and we're going to take him at 4. And so that's who I'm most excited. Can he live up to that? Is he going to show special skills? Because, look, the Hornets built around his position in the offseason, right? They went out and got veteran players. So it's not – I think he's going to have a place in this rotation. But it's also not a given. Like he's going to have to earn it just like everyone else. And so it will be exciting to see him take those first steps in that journey in Las Vegas.
perhaps I tried to sell the difficulty of it all a little too hard because I'm going with Kon Knueppel too, and I felt pretty good about it. You're probably right. We got to go with a top 5 pick. You could create an argument for 3 other guys, but I just want to see what Kon does on ball. What are they running through him? Remember, Charles Lee last year with Nick Smith Jr., they threw a lot at him offensively and defensively because they wanted him to be ready to go for the upcoming season. And they were just throwing it all at him to see what he could handle, what he couldn't, what he needed to improve at, what he's surprisingly already good at or better than what they originally thought. All of that, baby. I think all of that happens with a lot of the guys, but especially Kon Knueppel. Are they going to put Kon on not the best opposing offensive perimeter player, but like the second or third, right? How many minutes does he spend on, some of these other ball handlers and ISO situations where they try to put him in some of those situations? And because it's summer league, you're like, all right, Kon, go ahead, buddy. You're on an island. We'll see what you can do. I just want to see how much Charles Lee or this coaching staff. Do we know who the head coach is going to be? Is it Chris Jett? Is that right?
Jet, and then Kemba Walker's going to be there. I think he might get a look at some point. Typically the way they've run this the past couple of years, it's been one guy, but then another guy gets a little bit of a look. So
if Kemba coaches, by the way, that's actually something notable. That's serious. I don't think they're just throwing out these summer league games for anybody. You got to be a real coach, not just like, an ambassador and we got to give him a title because he's the best Hornet of all time. Like, that's kind of real. But anyways, I think I'd be interested to see what the coaching staff is going to throw at Kon offensively and defensively. I'm with you.
Yes, I would also say, they took 2 first-round picks and gave them both guaranteed money. So I want to see that those players can handle themselves, and they have lots of experience at the college level. Sion James, Kalkbrenner. But going back to Kon Knueppel, the one thing that I want to see, and look, I could be a total basketball hipster here and say, I want to see how switchable he is on defense, and I want to see how physical he is when he gets in the paint. And I want to see this dude hit shots because the Charlotte Hornets have taken a couple of players over the past couple of years, and we were promised high-powered microwave offense, particularly from outside, and they came into Summer League, and then they came into the regular season, and they did not live up to it. I'm thinking Malik Monk. I'm thinking Nick Smith Jr. I'm thinking, I could draw up a couple more players here if you give me a second. But, I just want to see Kon Knueppel do the thing that a lot of people saw him do at Duke, and a lot of people knew he was going to do, which is knock down outside shots, and something the Charlotte Hornets, they desperately need to improve their shooting. Kon, hit your shots, please, for the love of God.
Hold on, let me change the calendar. 0 days since we said something bad about Malik Monk. All right. By the way, he didn't play Summer League, and brings me to a different point. We're on a streak here of our first-round picks actually playing in Summer League, which is nice. Remember, P.J. Washington didn't play because of his foot injury out of Kentucky. Malik Monk did not play. LaMelo Ball did not play. So I'm pretty sure PJ, and I know LaMelo didn't because of all the COVID situation. I don't even think there was Summer League, especially after they were drafted. We got to see
a little bit of Brandon. Right?
We did get to see Brandon, and then they yanked him out of the lineup after one good game. It was a little bit of a struggle for him, and then had a good game, and we're done.
And then they said
we're going to end on a high note. So I'm glad that Kon and Tijan are both available because that's not all of them. All of the draft picks are available this go around to play in Summer League.
Well, that will be interesting too, because look, top 5 player, you're expecting star level, hoping for superstar level, and typically bad teams take those players, and typically those teams are going to want to ice those players and make sure that they don't get hurt because they're a big part of the future plans. But the Hornets have a lot of future plans. They've got LaMelo future plans. They've got Brandon future plans, and he only gets 1 year of college. It'll be interesting to see if they play Kon a little bit more than we've been used to seeing.
Any Summer League envy watching what we did with VJ Edgecombe taking 27 shots? VJ's ready, baby. He is ready to show what he can do. And then Ace Bailey, who does not have a good first Summer League game, goes 3 of 13. I forget how many points he ends up with, but he only goes 3 of 13 from the field. Had a better second Summer League game. Finishes with 18 points, 7 of 14 from the field. Sensabaugh ended up with 37 on 14 shots, which he was the star. Any Summer League envy watching some of those guys?
To me, envy comes from a breakdown of trust somewhere, and I still have trust in this front office. I think they've made enough good decisions that I trust their judgment right now. And if they judge that bringing Ace Bailey into this locker room would cause a lot of issues in terms of their ability to build culture and the sort of hierarchy that they've already built within the team, then I trust that. And obviously, like watching him get up shots, particularly in that second game, it does make you nervous. But we all knew, we said it over and over, the talent is unquestioned. But if you put him in the wrong situation, it doesn't matter how much talent you have. If you're in the wrong situation, you're in the wrong situation. Look at Kuminga in Golden State. Tons of talent. Showed it off in the playoffs. Can get a shot up really from anywhere. But in the wrong situation, it's going to affect your playing time. It's going to affect the locker room. It's going to affect your ability to eventually move that player. Look at like Golden State cannot move Jonathan Kuminga because their expectations, because they know the talent, so their expectations are we need these assets, and everybody else is going, yeah, but you're not playing the guy, so we're not going to give you a bunch of first-round picks for a guy you're not playing. So all of that, I obviously I get nervous, but I'm not envious of what's going on. VJ is a different story, but I don't live in that world. I don't live in a world where, look, VJ went 3. If VJ had gone 5, different story. VJ went 3. There was no chance of them doing that, so no, I don't live in that world.
The NBA changes so fast. We had one game of Ace Bailey. He was not good. Then we had another game of Ace Bailey. Now people are saying C. Like, we're going to go up and down the roller coaster with how these guys perform, and everything is going to be a victory lap, no matter what the result is. Every side is going to have a victory lap. Final thing, you wanted to show the people a video, and they're doing Kalkbrenner dirty here, Doug. Show the people what's going on.
All right, I'll explain this for the audio listeners too. This is from the social media team at the Charlotte Hornets. They put Vegas squad video, a little what do you call this? A little highlight reel of them getting ready in Las Vegas, the summer league team. So here it is. Everybody's huddled up. You got James Banks taking a corner 3, nice, hit a shot. Damian Baugh, dribble drill, that's cool. PJ Hall, stretch big, knocks down the 3 off the wing. DeJuan Harris Jr., Sion James, both hit corner 3s, that's cool. Oh, there's Kalkbrenner slowly attempting a free throw.
Yeah,
what was that?
That was a lame clip. That was a lame. So for the audio audience, it's Kalkbrenner. Everybody else is in action. Perhaps they even show all these other guys hitting shots, and then it's just a ISO shot of Kalkbrenner at the free throw line, shooting the slowest form free throw that we've ever seen, and they don't show whether it goes in or not, which is never a good sign in a highlight reel.
Yeah, wait. They did. You can't. Okay, I'm sorry. You can't see it because I have this clipped. I have this cropped a little weird. I can confirm it does go in. You can see it in the very top.
Okay, good job, Ryan.
I'm sorry. That's my bad. But Kalkbrenner, yes, taking a free throw, and then all right. Let's just play the video out. You got Kon Knueppel. What? I get so they did Kon a little dirty too because he just walks to get ready for a 3 and they just move by him. Leah McNeely takes an attempt. Jemiah Neal hits a 3. Aduro corner splashdown. DJ Rodman's kid splashdown from 3. Tijon Salon. Oh, good cheerleading off the bench. KJ Simpson.
Yeah,
effort absolutely. On the run. Anyway,
don't know if
Kalkbrenner's still the worst. Just come on.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Kalkbrenner. So I didn't know what white basketball player the Hornets drafted that I would be compared to the most. Ryan Kalkbrenner has the early lead. I got back from my Indy trip and I opened up my Twitter account. Sure enough, I see that somebody tagged me in a close-up of Ryan Kalkbrenner. So now at the station, we're going with Ryan Walkbrenner. And Bone went with Kalker Mail, which sounds a little FCC violation-y, but Ryan Walkbrenner is what we're rolling with right now. So I've been compared to Kon, but Liam McNeely, I think maybe once. Walkbrenner, he's got the early lead. So we move on. Any final thoughts on today's show here, Doug?
I think you have way better hair than Ryan Kalk. I'm looking at the picture now.
Thank you.
Your hair game is way better. And in fact, I mean, he's 7 foot tall. But the hair is pretty tight to the head. You get a little hair height, which
I get a flow. I got a flow,
which
I
enjoy. I enjoy a little hair. Every day we start the show, I make sure that hair is riding high.
And hey, I saw it absolutely. I saw the golden locks with Locked On, by the way, shouting you out for a birthday. Was it yesterday? I didn't even know. Happy birthday, man. I feel like a bad co-host now. Yeah, that's tough stuff. Anyways, I do love you as a podcast host, and I'm sorry for not saying happy birthday to you, but now I'm saying it. Everybody wish Doug a happy birthday in the comments.
Oh, thanks.
And let's drive that up.
Everyone knows my birthday. Why don't you just give out my social security number next? Jeez.
I promise I won't say it's 3. All right, I'm playing. That'll be it. That'll do it. We'll stop right there. Locked On Hornets, Doug Branson, everyhornetsboxscore.com. Also Locked On NBA. I'm Walker Mail. Listen to me on WFNZ every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m. Have a great rest of your day. We'll be back with you tomorrow.